Welcome or welcome back. I'm Dr. Margaret. I wish you could read the personal emails I've received since writing Perfectly Hidden Depression. Each person sharing with me the way they learned to seem perfect. We're going to cover 9 of those pathways today. Each of these is important in their own right, but they might also overlap a great deal. Here's number 1. You were sexually or physically abused. Sexual manipulation or physical abuse can silence you, particularly if you were told to shut up and keep the dark secret of your family. You weren't safe as a child. Staying in control has become vital to your way of life, but you may have also absorbed shame that did not belong to you. And that voice of shame tends to grow louder and more damaging with time. Here's the second pathway. You were a child of alcoholics or addicts. You learned to be hypervigilant and kept your feelings completely to yourself because you never knew what home was going to be like. You may have devoted yourself to school or athletic activities, a job, anything to keep you away from home. You might have done whatever you could to become invisible to your parents to protect yourself from their chaos. Here's a third pathway. You were emotionally abused. You were told you weren't going to amount to anything, or that you were too sensitive, a whiner, a bother, unwanted, perhaps even unloved. You're left obsessed with proving that parent, teacher, or coach wrong. The fourth pathway. You took a pseudo-adult role in your family as a child. Perhaps one or both of your parents suffered mental or physical illness or was completely immature. So you took care of your brothers and sisters, making sure they were fed, did their homework, and were asleep at a decent hour. You made sure a parent took their medication, or you picked them up from the bar at night. You basically never had a childhood. Here's a different one, number 5. You were the star of your family. You were highly praised for your successes. You never disappoint me. You're labeled the smart one, the athletic one, the accomplished one. He can do anything he sets his mind to. Yet you felt as you could never fail or falter because you felt that love was conditional on you being successful. And that pressure may have been cultural as well. It was your job to do better in life or to make your family proud. It could also be very true that you literally wouldn't have gotten the chances you did if not for seeming perfect. This occurs a lot in minority families or cultures that give the message to their children that they must be exceptional in every way. Here's a 6th pathway. You identify as male. You were taught that it's unmanly to admit any kind of vulnerability. Your male role models have lived that way, or maybe you grew up in a highly gender stereotyped environment or culture where there were different rules or expectations for different genders. You put up a huge front of stoicism because to do otherwise would be mocked as weak. The 7th pathway. You weren't allowed to express painful emotion in any way. Things happened, even painful things like death, divorce, or disappointment, but no one talked about the pain of those losses. You were hushed for crying, punished for showing anger, sent to your room if you looked upset. Don't come down until you get yourself together. Don't air our dirty laundry in public. Maybe even stop crying, or I'll give you something to cry about. The 8th pathway. You felt or feel responsible for a parent's happiness or fulfillment. Your parents may have said things like, I don't know what I'd do without you. There's no one who understands me like you do. You feel as if it's your job to emotionally prop up that parent, so you have to be ever constant, ever caring. This undue responsibility is called enmeshment. No child truly has the power to bring fulfillment or contentment to a parent, but you can be manipulated into believing that is your job. And here's the last pathway we're going to talk about today. The culture of the family was influential. You know, there's a vast amount of difference between countries and cultures in what is allowed emotionally or seen as normal. Whether your ethnicity is Scottish, Chinese, Colombian, or South African, your response to painful emotions was shaped by cultural influences. As a child, you mimicked how the adults around you behaved. That's what children do in order to remain safe. We all hurt. It's part of being a human being. And yet I'm challenging you today to question the way you learned to seem perfect, to have no real hurts. I know that challenge can be very hard, but I also know it's doable. Until next time, please take very good care.